Don't you hate wrestling with predictability? The garbage man, the sexy boy, boring ass TV? How did I get to work in here? Somebody tell me, please. The WWF is confusing to me. With Vince as mean as you've ever seen. I told old Patterson I'm done here in June. When a sudden voice inside me whispered, Vinny, don't sell your dream so soon. And everywhere I look, there's a Ted with a hand to hold on to. And everywhere I look, there's a place and a promotion who needs you. And it's there you'll book when you're lost out there and you're all alone. And WCW's waiting to carry you home. It's there you'll book. And it's there I'll book. A doobity-ba-ba-ba, headed to Atlanta and listen to this podcast. It's all right, even though it fucking makes fun of everything I've ever done. Backbone Wrestling Network, episode 19. We're on the eve of Starrcade. I'm Scott Shiflett. Joining me as always is Logan Croston. Logan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing a lot better than when I was watching the show that we're covering tonight, but I do have the next 2 days off, so that has me having a renewed sense of self because I'm going to sleep as much as possible over the 2 days as I humanly can. So definitely looking forward to that, but glad we're finally almost to Starrcade, but we have to get through a whole crock of shit before we get there.
Yeah, Logan, I keep saying, we're getting closer to no more 3-hour nitros, but we're still in the middle of December right now. I mean, we're towards we're at the 19th, but we still got at least 2 nitros left. And if the 2-hour nitros that we have are going to be like this 2-hour Thunder that we had, as I watched this over 2 sittings, and I was dragging ass at the end, guys. The lack of hype for Starrcade, it's no wonder. I think the buy rate's horrible. Yeah, because they don't do anything heating up the matches or anything. At the end of Starrcade, Logan, if you would have told me that Kevin Nash was going against Bret Hart and Goldberg was fighting Jeff Jarrett, I would have believed you. We sort of had Scott Hall disappear, which comes up in Starrcade as well. I'll see how they actually manage that, because that was hastily thrown together. But this, it's the only matches he cares about for some reason is Vampiro and Dr. Death. At least those two sort of have heat going at each other. But the main event matches don't. I'll get to it towards the end, but it's all over the place. He's starting to already write Nitro and still has to get through Starrcade, which is supposed to be their WrestleMania. So it's just frustrating. But I'll kick us off. We're at the December 16th, 1999 Nitro Thunder. My apologies. It's the final show before Starrcade, as we're told. Too bad we don't get a rundown of all the matches, which is going to be fun, Logan. So Sid's music hits and he comes out. Tanae says that Scott Hudson is a commentator this week. We hear that idiot talk. And then they hype up the Master of the Power match between Sid Vicious and Kevin Nash. And then right as Sid comes out comes Chris Benoit, which it's just so weird seeing them together, Logan. I know they've been paired, but it's just still so weird.
Yeah.
They talk about the ladder match with Scott Hall. Sid gets on a mic and says, "Hey yo," like he is Scott Hall. Um, Me and the Crippler have a message for the outsiders who are whining and crying in the back. Sid says outsiders have fueled a fire that you cannot put out. Sid says that what you did to me on Thunder and Nitro will be the beginning of the end for you too. He said he would powerbomb Nash to the Earth's core, and at Starrcade there will be no escape, no retreat, only surrender. Benoit gets on the mic and says Scott Hall told him to rent a copy of WWF's Greatest Match just to see what it's all about. Chris said that he knows his wrestling history and that Scott Hall is the king of the ladder matches today. But come Starrcade, he will be. And he says what goes up must come down, and he's going to tell him what the getting down with the Crippler is all about. Sid gets on the mic and calls out the outsiders for a tag team match. Instead, we get the music of the Powers That Be group, which they never give this group a name, but it's like if I created a group in WWE 2K24, as Kurt Hennig comes out with Creative Control, La Parka, and Shane. Kurt Hennig says the outsiders are in the House of Pain match with Bret Hart and Goldberg tonight. And Logan, I had forgotten what a House of Pain match was, but we've already had one with Revolution versus Filthy Animals, who have already broken up, by the way, guys. House of Pain match is when they have the cage match, and you have to shackle all the limbs to each other to shackle
To the cage,
all of the to the cage, and that's how the match ends. No, not even hyped or anything. They could have done like a normal fucking tag match, but Russo wants to do like this blow off match before your big event. It just doesn't know how to book, Logan, and it's just frustrating that we're having this crazy ass gimmick match 3 days before the pay per view. It's just so dumb.
And shock horror, a cage match is riddled with interference and lasts about 5 minutes. So, just a regular cage match that you have, on TV or pay-per-view or whatever,
Yes, we will get to that, Logan, because it's bad. It's really bad, guys.
Yeah.
So Kurt Hennig goes, second of all the demands and crap that you laid on the Powers That Be have gone too far. Hennig says you are going to wrestle tonight, but it'll be against each other. And if they don't wrestle each other, they will have 6 months off with no pay. Sid Lynn says, what does that mean? He doesn't understand that suspension might occur. We then go to the announce desk, and Tenay says how Scott Hudson is with him again tonight if we didn't catch that 5 minutes ago. They go over the main event of Goldberg and Bret versus the Outsiders in the House of Pain match. We got Sid versus Chris Benoit, Vampiro versus Buff, Hacksaw and Midnight versus Perry Saturn and Revolution and Asia of the Revolution. We have David Flair versus Norman for the hardcore title. Chris Champagne Canyon versus DDP tonight. Then Hoovie's music hits, and Hoovie gets on the mic and says, finally, the juice has come back to New Orleans. They all boo him as if they're in Mobile, Alabama tonight. Hoovie says it doesn't matter because Hoovie is in the house, and the house is Hoovie. No idea what that means. Hoovie says, hey, Mikey Mike, when he comes to the announce desk. Hoovie then says, tonight everyone's going to be living La Vida Loca. Hoovie says he's the juice, and the juice is loose. We see DDP getting ready, and Sting, in quotes, attacks DDP, and that leads us to a commercial break. Logan, it felt like 12 different things happened in this 10-minute segment, and it was it's something like gimmick matches for gimmick matches' sake. The highlight low is Hoovie coming out to be on commentary again because he's just amazing two in a row.
Yeah, it's nice that we got him back on commentary for a second week. But yeah, I mean, we get 2 rundown segments. Tenay kind of runs down the card to start the show, and then after the first segment, he does it again. So kind of that little annoying thing that bothers us every now and then. But the Sid and Benoit promos were pretty good. Obviously, Powers That Be are stacking the deck against them to, they have to face each other if they don't want to get fired. But if all I had to do was not fight my fellow employee, I think I would take 6 months off paid. So that would be pretty nice. And I think they actually use that against them later that we'll talk about. But I thought that was pretty funny when we get to that. But yeah, they have to face each other or they'll get suspended. But yeah, good to see Hoovy back on commentary. And then, yeah, I actually kind of think I fell for the Sting thing at first too, but we'll get into the fake Stingness of it all throughout the rest of the card.
Not me, Logan. As someone who's seen tons of fake Stings, I knew this was not the Sting immediately.
Yeah, I think I thought it at very the beginning, but as soon as he starts to like walk away, I was like, oh yeah, that's not Sting.
Yeah,
He's
that's
a
I'd
little
be like
too
that's
he was
Luther's
a
dumbass.
little too bloated to be Sting, you know.
Yep. So we go to commercial break, and after that, we see DDP walking around, and he asks someone if he's seen Stizzing, and the dude says who, and DDP says Sting, you moron. So I love how he's trying to talk in kayfabe, and then calls the
Mhm.
person a moron who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Um. Anyway, that leads us to match one, which is Vampiro versus Buff. Vampiro comes down first. Buff comes out next. We're told again at Starrcade it's Vampiro versus Dr. Death. And if Vampiro wins, he gets 5 minutes with Oklahoma. I guess inside a closet. I don't know. Good, whatever, Vampiro. Hope you win. Um, Hoovy says he's getting tired of Mike already. He's only been out there a couple of minutes. Um, so Vampiro hits a shoulder block, and then out comes Oklahoma with his barbecue sauce, which they say is a magical elixir. Because I guess what we missed, Logan, was when he was doused with the barbecue sauce, it fixed his face a couple weeks
Mhm.
ago. So that's
Yeah.
why they call the barbecue sauce
Mhm.
the elixir. So when Oklahoma sits down, Hoovy gets all excited, says, "How you doing, Oakley? Oakley?" Which it just makes me laugh. Um, Anyway, back in the ring, we see Vampiro reversing a monkey flip, and then he clotheslines Buff. Oklahoma says he didn't learn Spanish in high school because he knows English. Says no offense, Hoovy, and Hoovy goes, "Yeah, that's what I thought," which I don't know, made me laugh. Buff lands Vamp off the top rope and then hits clothesline twice. Bufflin ducks a clothesline for Vampiro and reverses and Hurricanrana to a nice sit down power bomb. Hoovy says Buff surprised me with that move. You're not the only one that he surprised, Hoovy.
Mhm.
Vampiro then is able to get up and hit a headbutt on Buff, and then runs into a press slam to his gut. Buff kicks Vampiro, and then Vampiro ducks a clothesline and super kicks Buff out of the ring. Vampiro goes to the announce desk, and Dr. Death comes down to attack Vampiro, but then Jerry only attacks Dr. Death. And while this is happening, Vampiro is stalking Oklahoma, but Buff cuts Vampiro off and they fight. They get back in the ring, and this is so stupid, guys. So they're on opposite sides of the ring, both on the top rope,
Mhm.
looking at each other like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah,
While
Buff gets
Vampiro's
pissed.
standing up there. Yeah, it's so stupid. Oklahoma hits Vampiro's in the nuts, and like Vampiro, after the nut shot, gets off the top rope and stumbles over to where Buff is, which is diagonal from him. And then Buff hits the blockbuster for the win. Dr. Death in Oklahoma laughed after the match. Buff celebrates. And then Vampiro tries to attack Dr. Death in Oklahoma, but Dr. Death beats his ass and hits a double underhook slam. I thought this was the Dr. Bomb, Logan, but I YouTubed to see what the Dr. Bomb was. This was not the Dr. Bomb on Vampiro. And then Oklahoma pours barbecue sauce over Vampiro so it can heal his wounds that he will, his burn marks that he will get at Lucha Underground later. He's just getting it ready. So, uh, that was just a horrible match, Logan. It was just a story. It's just a storyline thing because, like, I will say, like, we say the main event has no heat with Bret and Goldberg. Like, there's no issue. Most of these undercard matches do. Like, not a lot of them, but some of them do, and this is one of them. But
Mhm.
like, I just want Vampiro and Doctor Death to stop being around each other. Like,
Mhm.
I'm done with this. Like, I hope it comes to an end the Sunday. And this was a horrible ending. It made wrestling look so fake. Like, it's so bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say Doctor Death, and I mean Oklahoma's entertaining, but those two could both go away, and the TV wouldn't be worse off for it. Um, but yeah, just not a very good match. Bagwell needs help to have probably a good match at this point. He needs to be in there with somebody that can go. And I don't think Vampiro's quite at that level yet in this run. Not that I think he ever particularly gets there, but these are two guys that probably need a better worker in there with them to have a solid match. Obviously, they need time and you know, a booker that's willing to give effort into you know, putting them in a good position as well. But obviously, that's not going to happen. Buff hits a pretty cool pop up power bomb at one point. I thought that was a pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, it was awesome.
move that he hit. We also are showing Aaron Neville in the crowd, singer of the national anthem at I believe SummerSlam 1993. So it was pretty cool to see him there. But yeah, Jerry Only comes off and kind of wards off Oklahoma and Dr. Death for a little bit. But yeah, the major miscommunication with the top rope thing where they're on opposite sides of the ring waiting for each other. And then Buff seems pretty pissed. And obviously, Dr. Death lays in or Oklahoma ends up low blowing him. And then they go to the blockbuster spot. But yeah, kind of a disaster. Love seeing the blockbuster. Love seeing that pop-up power bomb. But other than those two things, pretty trash match for sure.
I'm shocked for someone who I thought was going to get like maybe an upper mid card push that like he's like curtain jerking on Thunder, and that's Buff Logan. Like I legit thought like all the stuff we had to see like with him being the boo boo face because of losing that really led to him just being a fucking jobber. Which is insane. Speaking of jobbers, we see Evan Courageous and Spice walking backstage. He's already left Medusa, apparently. And
who knew?
We see up next, it's right. That was news to me. We see it's Evan Courageous versus Tafka, the artist formerly known as Prince Iakea. We have a commercial break. We see DDP walking around looking for Sting. He's asking random people to see Sting. They're like, no. We see the artist formerly known as Prince Ikea and Paisley with Gene. Gene asks a question, and Tafka doesn't do anything. Like he just makes weird hand gestures and whispers into Paisley's ear. Paisley says the artist is in a very creative mood tonight. Burn the candles, light the incense because we're going to party like it's 2000. Hoovy, who is lost, just like me, says, what is he talking about these days? Which made me laugh. This leads us to match 2, which Hoovy calls the jabroni match of the week, Logan, which is amazing. And it's Evan Courageous with Spice with versus Tap Caffey. I finally can say it correctly, with Paisley. And we see quote unquote highlights of the Spice and Medusa match, which I believe set women's wrestling back 40 years. Hoovy once again says, I love the entrance, but hate the guy when Tap Caffey comes out, which is amazing because the entrance is very good. We're told this is a non-title match. Paisley gets on the mic and says, since your creative juices are flowing, we want to know what you are thinking. He just says sage. Announcers are like, what the hell are they talking about? And then Hoovy says, I can do better than that, Mike. And Mike says, do what better? And Hoovy says, with the girl. It's just insane. So Evan grabs Prince's arm, and then Evan hits a Thez press. Like he had him, and then he ran into hit a Thez press. Then it hits a nice springboard crossbody and gets 2. Artist grabs Evan's legs and then hits a back headbutt to Evan's nuts. Artist then drop kicks Evan out of the ring. Medusa comes down, who looks like she's an aging stripper, and pushes Spice. While Evan was on the outside, he was talking to Paisley, and Medusa said, go away when she walked to that side of the ring. While this was happening, the artist pulled Evan back in the ring and Irish whipped him into the corner. Then while stunned, the artist missed a crossbody. This is all like just playing second fiddle to what's happening with Medusa and Paisley, as they're both now up on the ring apron and for some reason in the ring. This then brings in Spice. Evan hits a missile dropkick, but the ref is distracted with the woman being in the ring. And Evan had the pin, and he gets up and is like, what the hell? And he's arguing with all the women. Artist rolls up Evan and holds the tights for the win. And then Hoovy says there are 4 girls in the ring, and I'm talking about Evan being one of the girls. Medusa slaps Evan after the match. Evan says, you need some juice. You better come with the juice. And then Evan and Spice leave together. This is a horrible match. The best part of the match, guys, was Hoovy shitting on them, calling the jabroni match of the week, saying Evan was a girl, saying like he has no game and all that stuff. Medusa can just fuck right on off, Logan. Like, I gave her the benefit of doubt in 7 Months of Danger, found in the No-So archives, if you want to listen to that. But she is so fucking bad here, trying to be like this, like, MILF sex symbol, and it just doesn't work for her one bit. Like, she's like walking around in like these like 8-inch fucking platforms, and like you can tell she's trying not to bust her ass. She's got her tits all hanging out, and it's just like, I know this is 1999, 2000, and women's wrestling isn't what it is today, but like, goddamn, this is horrible. This is just horrible, and they should have saved their breakup for after Starrcade, not fucking the Monday before.
Starrcade even.
Then, yeah, it's just so stupid, and it shows why Vince Russo's a moron. But what do you think of this match and this whole bullshit? Because that's what it is, Logan. It's just bullshit.
Mm-hmm, yeah. See, the problem with her being a MILF would imply that she has to be attractive to be so. So that's their first problem. I didn't mean that, but most of my notes are about like attire during this match. So my first note is I love the amazing amounts of fake tanner that come off of Evan Courageous onto Taff Cappy's like stark white shirt. So his shirt like turns brown because of how much fake tan the fucking Evan Courageous has on. I said, good God, Medusa is about to bust out of that top. Because I think she was one like good jump away from her tits, just completely about popping out. It was hanging on for dear life. And like you kind of said, this ends up being more about the girls, Spice and Medusa and Paisley, than it ends up being about the two guys, which, the two guys aren't all that entertaining, or, I'm not sad that they're not getting focus or anything like that. But, going into the last pay-per-view where he wins the Cruiserweight title, he loses the match before the pay-per-view, which Disco also lost the match before the pay-per-view. So now both of your Cruiserweight wrestlers once again have lost their most recent match, one to a person who doesn't wrestle and the other to a fake Prince look-alike or act-alike or whatever. So Evan, for the second consecutive pay-per-view, loses his last match heading into said pay-per-view. Just ridiculous.
Yeah, he just sucks. Mm-hmm. I know we talked
everyone
about
in this segment sucks.
I got a soft spot for Spice, okay, and she looked good in that like schoolgirl outfit, Logan. So yeah, I can't really say anything bad about that. So anyway, we come back before this turns into Horn Dog Podcast 2020. We get a commercial break, and we come back, and we find that DDP has found Sting. DDP and Sting start fighting backstage. Then another Sting pops up and attacks Sting. DDP grabs the wig, and he screams Luger, and the fake Sting goes off, and DDP runs after him. This leads us to match 3, which is Asia and Perry Saturn versus Midnight and Hacksaw. Hoovy once again shitting on Revolution. He says the Revolution is getting boring. When Shane gets on the mic, Hoovy said, "Shane, the people are already quiet." Then before he can speak, the lights go out and Midnight strikes. Midnight is in the ring, and then Hacksaw music hits. Literally from when Hacksaw starts walking out till he hits the ring, Hoovy is screaming "Ho!" Just amazing. Hoovy comes down and starts fighting with Hoovy. Duggan comes down and starts fighting with Revolution. They clear the ring. He throws the Revolution flag. The match starts. Perry and Hacksaw start off. Loud USA chants. We get a collar and elbow tie-up. Then Duggan punches and rams Perry's head into the turnbuckle. Then he gets a hammerlock, and then he segues that to a chin lock. He punches Perry and then sends an Irish whip. And then after that, Hacksaw and Midnight bounce Perry back and forth like a pinball with punches. Then he gets a slam, and Duggan gets a 2. Perry tags to Asia, and then Duggan grabs her hair, and then he tags to Midnight. She picks up Asia and throws her, picks her up with a choke and throws her down. Asia then punches Perry off the apron, and then Perry makes a blind tag to Asia. Perry hits a clothesline. Midnight ducks a punch and then punches Perry. Shane says, will you get this bitch to stop cheating? Which shocked me that that's what was said on commentary. Yeah, I was shocked. Yeah, sorry. And then while Midnight's punching Asia, Perry grabs her leg and gets her on her back and starts punching her. Then this brings out Harlem Heat, and they come in the ring now, and Perry hits a back body drop and tags to Asia. Asia picks her up and hits a nice snap suplex. Asia hits an elbow drop and then hits a leg drop. She stomps on Midnight. She wants to tag Perry, but Midnight stops her. Then they run into each other, and they both tag out to both men. Duggan drops Perry with punches. Duggan gets 10 punches in the corner, and then after that, he hits Perry with the scoop slam. Duggan hits a running clothesline and gets 2 as Asia makes the save. This brings in all four. All four are battling. Asia throws Midnight on the outside. Harlem Heat go to check on her, and then Stevie Ray aggressively throws her back in the ring. This calls Booker T and Stevie Ray to argue a little bit. Asia got a 2 on account on Midnight. They weren't even illegal people. We then see the Revolution flag fall, and Shane says, when the Revolution flag falls, I pick it up. We see Midnight has rolled out and is actually arguing with Stevie Ray now. And then Duggan reverses the Irish whip and knocks Asia and Perry Saturn at each other, and they're out of the ring. And then Shane goes up and he tries, Perry gets back in the ring after this, and it's convoluted as hell. And Duggan reverses the Irish whip, and Shane hits Perry with his cast. And then Duggan pins Perry, but Deanlin tries to hit Duggan with a 2x4, but Duggan grabs it and he hits Perry while the ref is distracted. So the ref's distracted because I'm distracted. This is confusing me, and I watched it 2 hours ago. Duggan hits Perry with a 2x4 and he wins. After the match, the Revolution beats down Duggan, as we are told that Harlem Heat had walked back up the ring to argue. And this brings out the aforementioned Aaron Neville, who comes out with a 2x4, and Booker T to come back, and the Revolution flees. Now, Logan, this match would make sense if it was Harlem Heat and Jim Duggan versus the Revolution at Starrcade, but it's not. That's what the build has been. That would have to be this. But no, it's Harlem Heat and Midnight are facing Powers the B team at Starrcade. Actually, I don't know. That match hasn't been mentioned in the past 2 episodes, so it may not be happening. But no, we got Jim Duggan, who is going to have 3 mystery people versus Revolution, when you could use the 3 fucking people that they've been beefing with for the past 2 weeks. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, and there's no guarantee that Harlem Heat match is gonna happen, because it was supposed to be for the tag titles, but Creative Control aren't the tag team champions anymore, so they haven't really talked about that, because technically, if you go by that, then the Harlem Heat should face the Outsiders at Starrcade, but Outsiders already have individual singles matches, so they haven't really addressed it. So I don't really know that we're supposed to assume that match is still going to happen. I mean, it is, spoiler alert, but we haven't heard anything about it since they said, oh yeah, you're going to get the tag title match at Starrcade. But yeah, the fact that you went into as much detail with that match as you did, because I was looking through my notes and I was like, man, I didn't take any notes on this match, so it must have just been super awful, or just a lot of stuff happened, but nothing happened at the same time. I feel like we've talked a lot about Perry lately, seeming really good, and I think he did as much as he could in this match, but as much as maybe I implied that maybe if he didn't leave when the rest of the eventual radicals leave, that maybe he could have gotten a pretty big push. And if he had stayed, but maybe not, because he absolutely gets his ass beat by Duggan for the opening portion of this match. So maybe they didn't think too highly of him, like maybe I thought they did. But yeah, they continue to kind of push along the storyline that Stevie doesn't trust Midnight, maybe as much as Booker does, or even at all, maybe.
Which came out of nowhere. It started last Nitro, and they're super nuking it in the microwave.
Oh yeah, that's the Russo special. So seems to be a his calling card. So, but yeah, Duggan pulls off the upset. They for some reason give Duggan and Midnight the win here, even though the Revolution has been pretty pushed for most of our run. But then obviously, like you said, they beat Duggan's ass after the match, and then Aaron Neville comes in with a fucking 2x4. I would have loved to have seen him try to use it or beat somebody's ass, but definitely a random appearance of him being in the crowd, and then him even getting involved is even stranger. So, yeah, kind of a chaotic mess of a match, but yeah, and very confusing based on storylines and what we get at Starrcade for sure.
Yeah, it truly is, Logan, and it's just like Russo doesn't know his head from his ass with writing. But I gotta pause.
Yeah, that's fine.
I got my
No.
notes where it was, and
All right, shoot.
after Aaron Neville saved the day, we go backstage to David Flair with his headless stuffed bear. That doesn't say WCW 1999 and 2000. I don't know what will, Logan. So David's petting the headless stuffed bear while Mean Gene's talking to him. Then David says, "Pet the headless stuffed bear" to Gene, and Gene goes to, but David screams, "Don't ever touch it ever!" and walks off. And Gene's like, "What the hell?" Then we see Bret Hart getting ready for the House of Pain match. Then we go to a commercial break, and we see Sting with his bat looking for Luger on the way back. Then we go to match 4, which is Norman Smiley versus David Flair for the WCW Hardcore title. Hey, Logan, did you know that Norman Smiley has a match against Ming at Starrcade coming up?
No, I did not.
Yeah, because they've interacted twice. So Norman comes to the ring in Alabama gear, so the crowd's behind him. He throws all the trash cans and trash can lids in the ring. David Flair comes out with the tire iron and the stuffed bear. David tried to hit Norman with the tire iron, but Norman had a trash can lid and was blocking it. Norman bails out of the ring and then gets stuck in the ropes, getting back in. David hits Norman with the trash can. Then he hits him with the trash can lid as well. And then in a move that I don't know what the fuck happens, Logan, he picks up a trash can and does a forward roll with it just for no reason. And then Norman attacks David with the trash can lid. He then slams David and goes to do the big wiggle. David gets up and hits him with the trash can and then the trash can lid. Norman then gets some offense in on David. It's just like shitty shots with the trash can. And then Ming comes down and Norman hands Ming the teddy bear. Ming then destroys said teddy bear. Norman takes off running and Ming follows. The ref just calls for a bell. I don't know. David rolls out of the ring and grabs the bear. He's upset. Yeah. And somehow the match ended. Somehow in a DQ in a hardcore match. So fucking stupid. Just a worthless. It's just a waste of time. And to remind you, because this is the second or third time they've interacted total, that Ming and Norman Smiley have a hardcore title match at Starrcade, Logan. What do you think of this nothing ass match?
It just reminded me that David Flair he doesn't even know how to act like a human. Like, he doesn't know how to move like a human being. He is like the most robotic, like, not even just in the wrestling. Like, he doesn't even know how to walk or like interact or like do anything. He is the worst person that they have ever, like, any wrestling company has ever put in a ring in the history of all time. Like, you cannot convince me anybody's worse. Like, he doesn't even know how to move. Like, it's awful. He is so bad. I've never been more bored and more like wanting to turn my TV off than in a fucking hardcore match before, because that's usually means at least weapons are involved in, which, I mean, they're involved here, but not well in this one at least. But it's just he is the worst. But yeah, Smiley does his best. But yeah, Ming comes out and we have a DQ basically in a or a count out or whatever you want to call it in a hardcore match. So just absolutely awful. David Flair needs to not ever be on TV again, but I'm afraid that that's not the case. And I'm pretty sure he wins a title in the future. So looking forward to getting to that.
Hopefully it's just a hardcore title, something I don't give a shit about, but I think it's something more if memory serves.
Mm-hmm.
The forward roll, Logan, that he just did with the trash can, I was so confused. Like, I thought I missed something when I was taking notes that I rewound it and was like, oh, he does a forward roll out of nowhere for no reason.
Yeah, man, I know he's supposed to be a nutcase, but like, even nutcases don't do shit like that.
Yeah. So, but I'm sure he was getting paid nice. Like, if they want to pay me to act like a fucking fool, I'll do it as well.
Yeah, but the thing I'm talking about, like, he didn't even know how to run. Like he doesn't know how to just be a person. He is like a robot basically. Like it's like, you can convince me that he is like AI, and like it's like he's like a robot using AI to function. It's awful.
And he still banged Stacy Keibler. So
That's true. Hopefully he's has a little bit
yeah.
more performance ability in bed. So
Right? Yeah. God, it's lucky SOB. So we cut to Sting backstage looking for Luger. Then we go to commercial break, and then we see Norman Smiley doing like a 40-yard dash in the parking lot to leave. Sting's music hits, and Sting comes out. He gets on the mic and says, "Enough is enough." Package. He says he knew it was Lex, and he doesn't want to wait till Starrcade. He wants to fight now. Says he will put the bat down. Lex's music hits, and the lights go out. But Luger, dressed as Luger Sting, runs in the ring to try to beat up Sting. Real Sting then beats him down. Sting gets punches in the corner and then hits an atomic drop. Sting is beating down Luger. Then Luger is able to get some kicks in and then clothesline Sting. Despite Tenay and Hudson calling it Lex, Hoovy doesn't think that it's Lex, which made me laugh. Liz comes down and Luger went to slam Sting in the turnbuckle, but Sting reverses it and then hits him with two Stinger splashes. Sting went for a third, but Luger gets his boot up. Luger grabs the bat and went to hit Sting, but Sting dodged the attack because this distracted Lex. Sting hits Lex in the nuts and then tries to rack him, which was kicking his ass a little bit, Logan. And then when he finally gets him racked, Lex's leg hits Liz and Sting drops Lex to check on Liz. And when he wants to go to check on her, Luger attacks Sting with the bat. Luger beats down Sting with the bat. Liz tries to get in the way, but Luger doesn't stop. And then security comes down and finally breaks it up. We go to commercial break. We see highlights of what just happened. And then we see the training staff with Sting. Sting says he's going to look for Lex. And then we see Lex leaving, doing like a 20-point turn. And Hoovy says, "You better clean your face, Lexi."
that was so funny.
So it was like, just, he's hilarious. But it was, I mean, it's well-known fact that I love Sting, but I really don't want to see this match. Like, I feel like it's been done to death because I remember what happens with this because I was getting the WCW magazine, Logan, so I remember what happens with this, and it makes zero sense. Spoiler alert, just like everything Russo does. But, you know, at least they're doing something with two people feuding going into Starrcade, which can't be said for a lot of the things that we see. So we have that going on. But what did you think of that? It wasn't a match. I didn't qualify it as a match. It was just a fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just more of like an interaction. So no ref was involved or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I have no desire to see this match whatsoever. We've more liked Luger or Package, whatever you want to call him, in the backstage sense more than the in-ring sense. Like, which he hasn't been horrible in the ring, but he's definitely not at his peak ability, obviously, from earlier in his career or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, and Sting's kind of on the back nine of his really good stuff, I would say. But yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no desire to see this match. I feel like I can see what's going to happen, just based on how things have gone in the past with Sting, and with Liz being involved. I assume she's going to go one way after Starrcade, and it's going to be the least surprising thing in the history of things. But yeah, just I'm not at all excited about this one. But like you said, at least it's kind of getting some hype, which like again you said, you can't really say about every match.
Yeah. So we have match 5, which is Dr. Death versus the Wall with Berlin. Dr. Death, I have to see Oklahoma again, comes down with Oklahoma. Hoovy says Dr. Death goes with that name because he looks like death. And then Hoovy admits to getting prescriptions by doctors for stuff he doesn't need. And then Mike tries to tell him to shut the hell up. I don't know if you caught that, Logan. But I was like, wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma's on commentary again. Berlin comes out with the Wall. I thought they had broken up, and Berlin was actually leading the way, but it's Wall that's wrestling tonight. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma says Dr. Death is going. It's so confusing. Dr. Death is going right through the Wall. They circle each other, and then we get a collar and elbow tie up. Wall gets a headlock, and Dr. Death tries to fight it off. He's then pushed off. He pushes off towards the turnbuckle. Wall then gets a shoulder block, but Dr. Death doesn't move. Dr. Death then slams the Wall. Dr. Death's rocking Wall with punches. Then he chops him Wall in the corner, and then when he charging in the corner. Wall gets a boot up. Oklahoma screams, "Big boot, big boot, big boot." Then Wall gets another boot, and Hoovy goes, "Second boot, second boot, second boot." And Oklahoma says, "Don't steal my gimmick" to Hoovy, which made me laugh. Wall puts Dr. Death in the corner and starts beating him. Wall then Irish whips. Dr. Death hits another big boot, and then we cut to Chavo selling shit in the crowd. And then we see Wall chopping Dr. Death. And then we go back to Chavo trying to sell in the crowd. And then we go back and see Dr. Death missing a dive in the corner. Dr. Death blocks a punch. Oklahoma goes to interfere with his boot, but Berlin stops him. Berlin then grabs the boot and hits Dr. Death in full view of the ref. The ref DQs Wall. Wall asks Berlin what's he doing, and Wall punches Berlin. Dr. Death then knocks Wall over the top rope, and it just ends. Logan, why are we having this match, and why is we seeing Chavo sell shit when it doesn't even matter?
Yeah, that was a pretty pointless part of this match. But yeah, I we hadn't seen the Wall, I feel like, in a few weeks, or at least it feels like it has been a few weeks. I don't know that it really necessarily has. But yeah, I definitely thought him and Berlin were done. We haven't had any reason to think that they're not done. I feel like I think the last thing we saw him in was the block. I think Wall had the block match, and then Berlin gets involved and all that, and I think that may have been the last thing we've seen of them. Maybe something after that, but yeah, for all intents and purposes, I thought that they were pretty much done. But yeah, Wall that gets DQ'd for Berlin using the boot. So, but yeah, just another nothing match with people that don't particularly matter. We already saw Dr. Death, so it's not like we really needed to see him again on this card or get Oklahoma back out on commentary because they were out there earlier. So, and they got involved and, beat down Vampiro. So it's not like they gained anything more by being out here for this. So, just an odd match to throw out there, but it's how it goes.
Yeah, it's like they have all these wrestlers and they're like, let's throw these people out, and it just makes no sense. And then we see Dustin walk.
Dr. Death and Oklahoma aren't two people I think I would use twice on a show. I don't think that's necessary.
I wouldn't even use him once, Logan. Like, Dr. Death is past his expiration date as a wrestler. Spoiler alert, I know I'll catch hell on this. I never thought he was that good of a wrestler to begin with. I know he's known for his work in Japan. Mm-hmm. I've just never been that impressed, to be completely honest. If someone wants to point me towards some matches, I will happily watch and change my opinion. But from what I've seen, with him getting his ass beaten Brawl for All and this, I ain't that impressed. And I wasn't impressed when he was in WCW in the late 80s. Sorry, NWA. So I'm not passing the eye test, Logan.
Yeah, I want to say he's
speaking of not passing
that guy, but yeah.
yeah, with Terry Gordy. Speaking of not passing the eye test, we got Dustin Rhodes walking backstage. He looks lost. He says he's looking for his hat. He's also missing his duster. This will fucking be important later. I really wish it wasn't. Get a commercial break. We see highlights of Nitro. If you want to hear us talk about the previous episode of Nitro, check out our previous episode. And then we see Buzzkill getting people to sign a petition. They say that Buzzkill doesn't know what for, and neither do the fans, spoken like how we are now. Hoovy chants Buzzkill. And then we see Goldberg getting ready backstage for this House of Pain match. Like, how long does it take Goldberg and Bret Hart to get ready for these fucking matches? Because we saw Bret getting ready at the start of the show, and now Goldberg. And we still got a little bit of time before their match, guys. So this leads us to match 6, which is Kurt Hennig with Shane versus Dustin Rhodes. Kurt comes out, and then Dustin comes out. I did not know what Dustin's theme music is, Logan, but it still is fucking 7 theme music.
Yeah, it's still the fucking 7 music.
I was blown away. Away.
It so doesn't fit the character that he's trying to go for either. It's absurd.
Fucking use the natural theme music. It's perfect.
Oh yeah, that would give me an excuse to sing the song. So yeah, definitely do that.
Yeah, they call him the natural. Sorry,
natural.
So thank you. So Dustin gets on the mic and calls Jeff something that gets muted, which is pretty impressive because I heard bitch earlier. I guess he called him a pussy, Logan. That's the only thing I could think of. Dustin said Dusty will never die. We'll have to check the notes on that one. Dustin says he will be his fat daddy on Sunday. He says, I promise you that Jeff Jarrett will never forget the name of Dustin Rhodes, which, Logan, that does not go off the tongue as never forget the name of Goldust. doesn't do the same. Yeah, but then we get, so as he's doing that, Kurt attacks Dustin, but Dustin fights him off. Then Shane grabs Dustin. Dustin pulls him in the ring. Keep in mind, listeners, last match, we literally saw someone get hit with a boot, and the match was DQ. Dustin pulls a full grown-ass man into the ring and then hits shattered dreams on Shane and no DQ. Kirtland takes advantage and starts beating down Dustin. Kurt Irish whips him and then punches him in the midsection, then hits him with his patented high knee. Kurt gets a chin lock on Dustin. Then the lights go out and the 7 music hits, and we see 7 floating to the ring. So, listeners, you've all been listening. I know you're not jumping in halfway through. If you are, welcome. On this 2-hour episode of Thunder, which is an hour and a half long of time, we have two segments within 30 minutes of each other of someone dressed up like another person's gimmick. 2 of them. 30 minutes, Logan.
Mm-hmm.
30 fucking minutes. So we see 7, quote unquote, floating in the ring, and they're like, they have Dustin's hat and Duster. So the lights come up, and 7 has a guitar. Spoiler alert, it's Jeff Jarrett. He hits Dustin with the guitar. That's the DQ. That's what we do. And we see Jeff beating down Dustin after the match. We get a commercial break, and we see what just happened. And then Mean Gene interviews Jeff. Jeff said the bunkhouse match is some gimmick match for the Rhodes. Jeff says he can bring whatever he wants. He will still beat his ass. Jeff says tonight he screwed him with his own gimmick, and on Sunday he will screw him in his own match. So, Logan, what do you think of that tomfoolery that we just saw? And Russo copying it himself within 30 fucking minutes because he has one good idea for every 20 that he submits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not much variety happening on this show for sure. But yeah, just absurd. You know, before the match, you talked about all the stuff that happened there. Buzzkill getting a petition signed for God knows what. We don't ever really learn what that's for. So, just absolutely absurd. Like you said, Goldberg's taping up like 45 minutes before his match. What the fuck is he doing? It can't possibly take that long to do that shit. But then the match, yeah, just a nothing match. I like seeing old Shane get the shattered dreams, but past that, just absolute absurdity. I love that they went to the trouble of doing the 7 entrance where he like floats to the ring on the cables and stuff like that just for this to be an interference. So just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, just another overbooked mess. Another disqualification. I'm pretty sure we had 0 clean finishes on the last episode, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and say we didn't have very many here. I don't think I had the number written down, but I can't imagine it was more than maybe 1 or 2, but if even any. So we'll talk about it at the end, I'm sure though. But yeah, just another really bad match, really bad booking.
Logan, you are correct. You are spoiling what I was going to bring up later. But yes, the second show in the row, we have 0 clean finishes. I'm sure it will be Christ. 3 in a row when Starrcade runs around, but you never know. So, but yeah, just bullshit on top of bullshit. I could, looking back when I was younger, I was like, why did they give up on Russo almost 3 months in? But having to sit here and watch it week to week, show to show, I'm surprised he fucking made it to Starrcade.
Or even any bit past that. And they didn't even want to get rid of him. They just wanted to like make him part of a committee, and he said, fuck it. I mean, like they really weren't going to fire him. They just wanted to like make him, kind of bounce off other people, before it got submitted or whatever. So just ridiculous.
Logan, I don't think I can play basketball better than LeBron. I know I can't play basketball better than LeBron. Can't play baseball as good as Shohei. Can't do that. Can't play football as good as the god Jaden Daniels. You know what I think I can do, Logan? Write better fucking wrestling show than Vince Russo.
Amazing.
And guess what, guys? We got like 20 minutes left, which means 2 more matches. So my note literally says, sigh, Roddy Piper shows up. Hoovy asks what Piper is doing here. So then Sid comes out, then Benoit comes out next. We somehow have 2 Sid promos tonight, Logan. So Sid has a mic and says, see you in the back. Me and Chris talked about it. We don't mind 6 months off. Sid tells the powers that be to take out their dresses and fight like real men. Out come Kurt, Shane, and Creative Control and La Parka. Kurt says, you want a tag match? We'll give you a handicap match. It's 5-on-2. This brings us to match 7 for the night, which is Sid and Chris versus Kurt Hennig, La Parka, Shane, and Creative Control. It just breaks down to everyone fighting. Sid and Chris take on them all. Sid takes down La Parka and powerbomb Shane. He then chokeslams La Parka, and Kurt bails out of the ring. Sid helps Chris fight off Creative Control. Benoit gets a ladder, and it's like the cheapest fucking ladder I've ever seen. Has nothing on the WWF ladders that always look amazing. This looks like one that I would have in my house with like a painter's ladder, and which looks flimsy as hell. And then Chris sets it up, and then he throws the ladder at Creative Control. He puts one of Creative Control in the crossface, but the other dipshit saved him. Kirtland has the ladder, and they all beat down Benoit. Ref just calls a DQ for this, Logan, because God forbid we have a fucking clean finish or any of these. Well, that wouldn't have been clean, but another fucking DQ.
And it's not like a chair or ladder had been used previously in the match, and they completely ignored that. But randomly at the end, they're like, oh, yeah, chair got used. This is DQ. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. So the powers that be beat down Sid with the ladder. 2 team powers that be, which they actually called Tanay calls them Team PTB at one point, Logan, which popped me for a reason. Beats down Chris and Sid more. We go to commercial break. We see highlights of what just happened. What did you think of that Nothing Burger?
It was just that. Just another excuse to get powers that be out there to beat down on some main event faces and stuff like that, and to have 2 guys out there that have nothing to do with this entire rivalry. Neither of these guys are facing anybody that has to do anything with the powers that be. So I still don't really I mean, I guess Jarrett somewhat involved with powers that be, but it doesn't make any sense. But Nash Sid is facing Nash, and Benoit is seemingly facing Hall at this point. So just throwing them in there with this ridiculous 5-on-2 or 6-on-2, whatever it ends up being, handicap match is nothing, and nothing happens. It's just an excuse to make the faces look like badasses, but also ended up making them get beat down in the end. So just another Nothing Burger, exactly like you just said.
Speaking of Nothing Burgers and people that I wish would fuck off forever, we see Mean Gene with Roddy Piper. Piper has a pipe in his hand and says, "Thunder, I'll give you thunder." Says he's a thorn in the side of the powers that be. Piper says he's going to be the gatekeeper for the House of Pain match. Says he will show us the way. I just say I have a note here that I hate him. It's just more nonsensical bullshit.
I wish he would show me the way to unalive myself.
Pretty much, Logan. That's what it's turning into. So match 8, we got the Battle of the Triad. We got Chris Champagne Canyon versus DDP. This gimmick is dying fucking quickly, by the way, guys. Canyon comes out with Jay Biggs and the 2 women. Hoovy asks who it is, and they tell him it's Canyon, Champagne Canyon. Hoovy calls him Chris Shampoo.
Shampoo. He just says that the whole match. They even correct him.
Hoovy's amazing.
Like, oh yeah, shampoo. Yeah, I love shampoo.
It's amazing. So Canyon gets on the mic and says, "You people don't get it. Chris Champagne Canyon has been to Hollywood, and by the looks of it, this ain't it." Well, it's Mobile, Alabama. What do you say? He says CCK is on a roll, and CCK can't be stopped. It's like they were trying to come up with a name for it, like CCK. It's just dumb. DDP music hits. DDP comes out. They both spit gum in each other's faces. Biggs threatens Hudson with a lawsuit, and then he gets on commentary, takes a spot. DDP knocks Canyon out of the ring. DDP actually does a nice dive on Canyon into the floor, then throws him back in the ring. Canyon gets an axe handle. When he gets back in the ring, DDP reverses a hip toss and gets a swinging net breaker. And then DDP hits a rock bottom, Logan, but Tanay calls it the Diamond Death Drop. I've never seen him hit that move before. Maybe I need to go back and watch more 98, 99 WCW, but that's what it was. That gets 2.
Rock stole from DDP. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, DDP was the first People's Champion. That's a fact. Canyon hits DDP in the nuts and then starts choking him. He then chokes DDP on the ropes. DDP actually gets a head scissors on Canyon, which I wasn't expecting. Then Canyon hits it's like an Alabama slam type move, but it wasn't fully. Canyon really is an innovator of offense. That move looked pretty fucking sick, and no one called it anything, so I had no idea what it was.
Yeah, it was like a sit-out Alabama slam. Like, he does the Alabama slam, but he sits out like it's a power bomb.
Yeah, it was awesome. Canyon stays beating down DDP. Canyon is choking DDP. DDP is unable to pull himself up and throws Canyon in the corner. DDP walks into a boot, and then they both dodge clotheslines from each other, but DDP hits one and then gets 2. Canyon hits a swinging net breaker of his own and gets 2. Biggs gets on the ring apron, but DDP throws Canyon into Biggs. And then when Canyon's on the ground, that only gets 2. DDP has a backslide, but kicks Canyon in the nuts. DDP hits a diamond cutter, but the ref was distracted. And David Flair runs out, hits DDP with the crowbar. The ref starts counting to 10 as both men are out. And Canyon's trying to position himself up and puts one hand on DDP. And the ref counts 3, and that's how the match ends. Bam Bam Bigelow comes out and complains about what happened, and then Canyon hits Bam Bam with the champagne bottle. So, Logan, I had forgotten that we have a crowbar on a pole match between DDP and David Flair, because they literally have not crossed paths since, I think, Mayhem. So we have that match happening. We have the blow up with the triad. We got Canyon winning in some fluky ass way, which is like they're creating these new gimmicks, and I just don't give any two shits about like the artist formerly known as Prince Ikea and Chris Champagne Canyon. Canyon should be more. Canyon should be the U.S. champion. Always impressed with him, and this is stuck in some lame ass gimmick, and it's just bad. The match was actually pretty good. These guys were friends, so you can tell. Like, I think DDP was willing to sell a little bit more from Canyon. And Logan, have you noticed we've had zero talk of that, what Meltzer called the shoot fight between Buff and DDP?
Yeah.
So I guess that was like them trying to create something, because we've had zero talk of that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm not saying Canyon's like the greatest mic worker of all time, but he's not a guy that fucking needs a manager. Like, he's perfectly charismatic on his own. Like you said, he should be much further up the card than he is. At least he's winning this match against DDP. To obviously, maybe he has something in his future. But this champagne gimmick with the attorney or agent or whatever, Clarence Mason / Jay Biggs is supposed to be, just isn't necessary. I mean, Canyon's super charismatic. He's very good in the ring. Like you said, he's super innovative, can pull out something crazy that, I mean, maybe not even crazy, but just something you've never seen before that, like, it isn't a triple Hurricane Rana or, like a 630 or anything like that, but just like a cool move, like a sit out Alabama slam. Like, nobody else does that. Like, he's just like super cool, and definitely should have gotten more than he got in multiple companies, let alone just WCW. Like, he's a guy that you should have really gotten behind once all the stuff happens in about a month when we get there. But he cut the promo beforehand, basically says nobody can beat him. Maybe a predecessor to the "Who's better than Canyon? Nobody." But I like that they spit each other's gum at each other to start the match. I thought that was pretty crazy. I made note of like I said, the set out Alabama slam, and then that spinning Uranagi slam that they call the Diamond Death Drop, I believe, that you were talking about. That was really cool as well. We've talked about shampoo. I liked Hoovy going on about that the whole match. DDP does hit the diamond cutter, but like you said, Flair comes out with the crowbar. And yeah, I kind of forgot they had a match too, but I do think they wrestled in a tag match on Thunder last week as well, but yeah, they haven't interacted too much. But like it seems like DDP's been involved with Sting and Luger and stuff like that previously as well. So, but yeah, and then Bigelow randomly shows up. Like I know Canyon faced him when he first came back, but just like why does he have to come out here? Why does he have to come out here and be like DDP's knight in shining armor or whatever? But yeah, Canyon should be pushed to the moon based on the roster that they have right now, and that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, no, it's all valid points. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he gets his shot later in 2000, but by that point, WCW is literally
Yeah, but even
on
still,
death's door,
they
sadly.
don't like really rocket strap him like I feel like they should.
Yeah, I think he would have been fine as U.S. champ, like occasional main eventer,
Yeah.
to fill in. But so then we see Bret Hart walking backstage. We see Kevin Nash telling Scott to come on, let's go. We get a commercial break. We're back from commercial. We have Mean Gene stand in front of the Outsiders locker room, and they say that Scott Hall was assaulted in the locker room. We actually see paramedics go in. The cage is down. We have 8 minutes left. Piper's music hits. Tenay says he's the gatekeeper. Outsiders music hits, and out just comes Nash. He is solo. Bret's Hart music hits, and he comes out as well. 6 minutes left. Hoovy asks where Scott Hall is, and Tenay's like, we just saw he got attacked. Whatever. Goldberg's music hits. For some reason, we have to have the full Goldberg entrance every time. 5 minutes left. We cut to see Creative Control beating down Piper in front of the ring. Jeff Jarrett has locked down the cage, and Nash is beating down Hart. Jarrett is beating down Piper as well. Goldberg finally meanders on out. He starts running. He fights Creative Control and Jarrett, and Piper starts fighting back. They send Creative Control and Jarrett to the back. Jarrett still has a 7 makeup one, by the way. 4 minutes left. Goldberg rips off the cage door, which, not gonna lie, was pretty impressive. Obviously gimmick, but still fucking amazing to see.
Sure.
Nash attacks Goldberg. Piper is hitting Nash too with the pipe. Jarrett comes in and hits Piper with a guitar. Jeff Lynne hits Goldberg with the guitar, but Goldberg isn't phased. He spears Jarrett. That was an awesome visual. Nash hits Goldberg with the pipe. Nash and Jarrett then handcuff Bret to the cage. Jarrett then puts the handcuffs on Goldberg. Nash is beating both with a pipe. Like, he's going back and forth. Nash and Jarrett handcuff Piper as well. The Wolfpack music hits and the baby faces are left beaten down. Jarrett beats everyone and they leave. I have in my notes here, where the fuck is Sid and Benoit? God, Vince Russo sucks. Goldberg breaks the cuffs, but the show just ends like that. So the main event, guys, didn't even happen. I assume Scott Hall is hurt somewhere. I don't think that's ever talked about. Just a shitty main event. I feel bad for the people in Mobile for having to sit through this because they were into what they saw at the main event. But as I said, it went 5 minutes. So
yeah.
And
it wasn't even really a match either.
Yeah. And you make Sid and Benoit look like pussies. Like, because Benoit's been feuding with Jarrett on and off, and Sid's facing Kevin Nash at Starrcade. You wouldn't have guessed it by this go home. You would have thought Goldberg and Jarrett are facing each other, and Nash and Bret are facing each other. But that's not the case. Russo really shit in the bed on his go home to the biggest show of the year. We thought it was bad with Nitro. It was somehow the go home show was worse for Thunder. Just a horrible show, Logan. I couldn't find any redeeming parts of it at all. What about you? What did you think of this main event and any redeeming parts for you?
No. I'll just go ahead and answer that question. Absolutely nothing redeeming about this. Nothing. I mean, that DDP Canyon match was good, but even still, it wasn't as great as it probably could have been just based on timing and stuff like that. But that was the standout. I would say that would be the good thing that maybe happened that we could talk about when we do the awards in a minute. But yeah, this main event was a mess. It never really started, and I don't even think it was a match because I don't ever think a ref really got involved because I think Piper was somewhat supposed to be the ref. They do end up shackling both of them to the cage, so I guess Nash technically wins by himself. Gene does say that Hall apparently got attacked. They don't say that he got injured necessarily, but they don't ever really report back. Spoiler alert, Nash does not show, or Hall, if I said Nash before, I meant Hall. Hall does not show up at Starrcade because I believe he has some kind of leg injury. So we'll see what that means for Benoit. But Yeah, Hall is out at this point. I'm sure. I don't know if he got hurt on Nitro or if it happened on a house show or something, outside of wrestling or something like that. But he seemingly is out. I do think the guitar shots were pretty good on Piper and Goldberg, especially since Goldberg no sold it and absolutely crushes Jarrett with a spear. I thought that was pretty good at least. But other than that, just absolutely absurd all around. And yeah, just a terrible, awful way to go to your somewhat biggest show of the year, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, it looks like it was a knee injury. You're right, Logan. But yeah,
I just
it
don't know
was,
when it happened. I don't know if it happened on Nitro or if it had been lingering and it just got worse or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't say when, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Which is weird. So yeah, it's very odd. But this brings an end to this Thunder. Let's go over some things. For most absurd, literally what I copied last time was no clean finish.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add?
Just, I mean, this could be like the all-time most absurd, but just David Flair's inability to just be a wrestler or be a human or anything to do with David Flair. He's just the most absurd thing that's ever existed in wrestling, I feel like.
All right, I got David Flair sucking at life. What was good? I just got a big old blank. This is nothing. Nothing was good, Logan.
Yeah, I was like I said, Canyon and DDP wasn't bad, but it still wasn't like great or anything like that. They just had some standout moves and still was an overbooked mess. So, yeah, nothing was good.
Yep.
And everything
was bad. Yeah. Literally, Logan, I copy and paste every time and update it as we go. And from what we had for Nitro, still feels here. Bret and Goldberg still feels flat and pointless gimmick matches.
Yep, 100%.
So we had 8 matches tonight, not that many, but 0 clean finishes, as we said. 0 pole matches tonight. We're still at 3 pole matches total. We had 2 gimmick matches tonight. We're up to 58 gimmick matches overall. 3 guitars. Yeah.
And that's not even from the beginning. That's from like Mayhem forward, right? Or something like that.
No, we did like 2 weeks for, so it's like 5 episodes.
Okay, I got you.
But still, 58, Logan, in 2 months. Yeah. No, a month and a half. Sorry. We had 3 guitar shots tonight, so we're up to 7 total. 37 different things happened tonight. We're still at 20 title changes overall, as no title changed hands. So yeah, and Logan, we got to ask the question: are we smarter than Vince Russo's WCW? I have a resounding yes.
Yeah, I think this is maybe one of the worst booked television shows in the history of all time. So, if you're not smarter than the person that put this together, then you have a lot going on, and none of it's good. So, yeah, if you're not smarter than Vince Russo on this one, then you got some major issues going on.
Yeah, it was awful, as the great Sean Kidd said. But that brings us to another end of Are You Smarter Than Vince Russo's WCW? For Scott Shiflett, he's Logan Crossland. We'll see you in 2 weeks for Starrcade 99.
It's going down, meet me in the mall. It's going down, meet me in the club. It's going down, anywhere you meet me, guaranteed to go down. Meet me in the trap. It's going down, meet me in the mall. It's going down, meet me in the club. It's going down, anywhere you meet me, guaranteed to go down.